Quazi here. In today's video, I want to share with you 96 words that I've read recently by Neville Goddard that will completely change your life. And these 96 words very, very effectively summarize the very core of reality creation and how manifestation actually happens. I truly believe these are the only 96 words by Neville that you actually need to know. So without further delay, let's go right ahead and get started. So these two quotes relate to both us and how we relate to our external world. In the external world, there is our social world and there's the material world. So quote number one explains how the social world works. And quote number two explains how the material world works. So I'm gonna write that down. Quote number one relates to the social world. Social world meaning how we relate to people around us, relationships, interacting with other human beings in this world of dreamers, in this world of imaginers. Okay? Quote number two, material world. Meaning objects, things that we would like to have, things we would like to achieve. Okay? So let's begin with quote number one. And this is what Neville says. Change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you live. Do not try to change people. They are only messengers telling you who you are. Revalue yourself and they will confirm the change. I cannot understate how valuable of a lesson this is, and this is why. I realized when I was younger that when I first got into business, and this was very crucial to me doing sales calls, when I was trying to sell myself and sell the product that I have, I would remember getting on calls with people who I believed to be more successful than me. They were at the time making more money than I was. And I just remember feeling so insecure and thinking, why are they on a call with me? Why would they buy from me? And I was thinking about me, and what's wrong with me and how inadequate I felt. This lack of confidence that I felt, this conception I had that I was not good enough to coach this person, this energy started to reflect into the other person who felt this energy coming from me. And therefore, they never ended up buying from me, right? So when I put that person on a pedestal, they had no choice but to look down. The similar thing happened to me when I was talking to people, in networking events who I thought to be more valuable than me. I created that frame by the assumption that I had, the concept, the self-concept I had about myself. The same thing happened again when I was a kid and I had like these crushes on girls. And I was like, well, I really like her because she is better than me and she's like this. Oh, why would she give me time of day? And when I felt that way, that's exactly what these messengers were reflecting. So people are like a mirror, just like your world is like a mirror, okay? So as soon as I changed that, I started to get into personal development. I started to work on myself. I started to work out, exercise, read books, meditate. My value and how I valued myself, it just shot up, right? And I started to believe that I was someone who was truly worthy of a woman's attention or a client or a prospect's attention and be able to sell myself better. By the way, I didn't need to do all of these things to get to that level. There are people who are pretty much degenerates. Like you see all of these quote unquote bad boys, right? Who have nothing going on about them, but then they do really well with women. Why? Because they believe, they have this like narcissistic belief about themselves that they are the shit, right? And because of that, because they set that frame, people start to reflect that. People start to believe and buy into that frame. So at the end of the day, whoever's sense of reality is the strongest, that person sets the frame. So when my sense of reality became very strong that, hey, I am a good video maker, then a lot of people started to watch the videos and started to believe it, right? I am the shit. I am a great coach. People started to buy from me and join my program, right? So all of these happened because I changed that self-concept I had of myself. So this is why I truly believe this is so important. And by the end of this video, what I'm going to do is share with you 4 different levels of reality creation, which will properly explain why this phenomenon happens and the biggest mistake we make when we get started off in this journey, okay? So that's quote number 1. Quote number 2 So crucial. Stop trying to change the world since it is only the mirror. Man's attempt to change the world by force is as fruitless as breaking the mirror in the hope of changing his face. Leave the mirror and change your face. Leave the world alone and change your conceptions of yourself. The reflection will then be satisfactory. Now, this, I believe, is the crux of reality creation. A lot of the time, we're taught this idea that we have to directly impact the world. We have to take massive action to make any sort of change. And that couldn't be further from the truth. While that is effective, it's not the full picture. Taking massive action only moves you just a little bit, just little incremental amounts to where you want to go. But then if you start to optimize other aspects, then action almost becomes a byproduct. It becomes effortless. And when action becomes effortless, you don't feel like you're fighting against something. That's when you begin to shape this reflection that you're seeing in the mirror. I think Neville does a very good job at describing the world as a mirror. And the only way to make the reflection change isn't by directly trying to manipulate the mirror. No, but it is by changing the image that we're presenting to the mirror. So let's talk about how to do that and the 4 different ways in which reality is created. Okay? If we have this circle as something, let's just call this reality, right? This is reality as we see it, our external world. Okay? External. And let's say this is our internal world. Now there are 4 different aspects of our internal world that influences this external reality. What we talked about just now, the most surface level, what can be seen, what can be perceived, are our actions, right? We can take certain actions and make a direct impact to reality. That is akin to trying to move the mirror, trying to shatter the mirror to change the face that you're seeing in the mirror. Futile, but still works. A lot of effort, still works. But, okay, so this is level 1. Actions are influenced by something. What is that? What influences the actions that we take? It's our predominant thoughts and feelings. So thoughts plus feeling. And this is why they call it emotion, right? If we feel inspired enough, we will do something about it. If we feel fearful enough, we will be moved to action. Whatever we fear, we're immediately going to act to eliminate and prevent that. So our thoughts in conjunction with feeling incites action. So if we can change the thoughts that we think and the feelings that we feel, our actions will also get affected. We will take different actions. But what shapes the thoughts and feelings that we have? That's where it gets interesting. So this is level 2, thoughts and feelings. A level below that is a subsect I like to call belief. Okay? You'll call this belief, you can call this conviction, whatever you want to call it. You can call this faith, whatever you want to call it. It's certain ideas that we don't really question, that we hold to be true. So these beliefs, by the way, are in 2 different levels, okay? So this is the subsect of belief. The first layer of belief is how we view the world around us. Worldview. What I mean by that is when you're looking at your external world, you look at it as, what is the world like? What is my attitude towards the world? Is the world a good place to live in or a bad place? Is this a good time to invest? Is this a good time to start up a business, or is this a bad time? Is something bad happening? Is this recession going to be a problem, or is this an opportunity? How do you view your world? Very important. How you view your world influences the thoughts and feelings that you feel. I view the world as a grave place to be in right now. Thought and feeling of, oh no, we are doomed. There's no point taking action, therefore there is inaction. Therefore you don't do what you want to do. That's the worldview, but something affects the worldview that we have. Okay, and I believe this is more of a feedback loop. Okay, something affects your worldview, and that is your self-view or your identity. Okay, identity. That is the core most level of reality creation. The identity is how we view ourselves. Am I good enough? So even if the world is a bad place and I believed myself as good enough to be able to blast through all of the perceived obstacles in the world, I could still override my worldview. Therefore, my thoughts and feelings would be, the world isn't the best place right now, but that's all right because I'm good enough. I'm better than that and I can do it. And therefore, I will take the necessary actions that are in line with my identity and how I view myself. And therefore, my reality will be influenced the way that I want. Fundamentally, the way to change this mirror, you only need to do one thing. You need to change the way you view yourself. What image am I presenting to the mirror? What self-conception do I have is how I view myself in relationship to the world. So, to make this super effective, it would be nice to have a great worldview, right? It would be nice to see, hey, there is a recession, but people have gotten rich during the recession, therefore the world is still a great place. And I am very capable in this great place. Therefore, there is a guarantee of my success and there's a guarantee I will get what I want. There's a guarantee I will be successful with this business. There's a guarantee I will be able to quit my job and have that life of freedom despite whatever's happening. So the two main things we can do, the two greatest questions you can ask yourself. What is my worldview? How do I view the world? And what is my self-view? How am I viewing myself? Those are the two questions that will allow you to most effectively shape this mirror. To really add a dust of sprinkles to the quotes, the 96 words by Neville. We just have to look at it this way. In this mirror world, if the world is a mirror, what is my attitude to myself and to the mirror? What is my relationship to myself and to the world? Am I capable enough and is the world a good place? I was actually talking to a client and he was saying, hey, I feel kind of out of flow sometimes and I feel like I'm in a funk. Well, you got to ask yourself, what's your focus right now? What are you focusing on that takes you out of that? What is your worldview and what is your self-view that is taking you out of that? Sometimes when we look at other people, maybe friends of ours who were in the exact same position that we were, but they're in a much better place, we can't help but compare. And we're like, they can do it, but I can't. Why isn't it happening for me? At that very moment, you've got to stop yourself. What are you focusing on that's bringing you to that funk? There are many different nuances to this mirror, but I believe if you just remember these two things, at any moment, just ask yourself these two questions. What fundamental worldview is causing this? What am I focusing on in terms of my worldview that's causing this? What am I focusing on in terms of my self-view, my identity that's causing this, that's causing me to feel this way, that's causing me to see the results that I'm seeing? And Neville does this very well when he talks about the law of assumption. I actually made a video on this. I'm going to link it in the pinned comments, what the law of assumption is and how it actually works, the real mechanics of the law of assumption. And I believe that, if you want to understand it, there's nothing like that on YouTube. So you should definitely click on the link in the description to watch that law of assumption video, which will clear up a lot of misunderstanding there is on this subject. So now I want to share with you 4 keys to help you fully use these 96 words, this method of reality creation, and become effectively a master of your destiny. Let's get right to it. Key number 1. Let's begin by refreshing our memory on what Neville said. Neville said, man's attempt to change the world by force is as fruitless as breaking the mirror in the hope of changing his face. The most effective reality creators, they like to never take action. Because what I want you to remember is that action just creates more waste. When I'm acting, I'm slapping my hand on the water and creating waste. We want to find ways in which our goals just manifest themselves. Staying with that assumption that everything that you want will just happen by itself, without any care from you, without any worry from you, because you have said so, just because you have chosen it, just because it's your birthright, okay? So what I want you to remember is every time you're trying to change the mirror, you're trying to manipulate the mirror, you have to stop. Every time you're trying to change, stop. What do I mean by that? What most people do is look at their circumstances and they're like, I don't like this. We must change this. Stop. Completely ignore what's happening right now. You're stuck in a career that you don't like, answering to a boss you don't like. Stop trying to change that. They want the job or the business because they want to get away from the career they don't like. You see that? Instead, choose the next moment. Stop slapping your hands on the water. Stop trying to move the mirror by force. Simply present the image that you would like. Start a clean, fresh slate. Choose what is wanted in the next moment. I cannot understate the importance of this. This is what I mean by changing your focus, right? If I'm focused on what I would like to change about myself, you've already lost. You're already becoming controlling. You're already becoming manipulating. You're already straining. These are the biggest enemies to reality creation, which I discussed in that Neville video, the law of assumption video. Get out of that changing, manipulating, forcing mode. Get into more of a power mode, choosing mode, letting go mode. There's a different energy to both of these, right? Like you can feel the differences. When I'm forcing, manipulating, controlling, there is a contraction. Even when I say those words, I feel contracted. But when I say choosing, when I say power, when I say love, it's a different expansive feeling altogether. When I say there is enough for everyone, when we say abundance, there's a different feeling, right? You will know you're doing the right thing by how you feel. How are you feeling about this? Do you feel in a state of straining and controlling? Or do you feel it's effortless? Do you feel that there is no strain? Whenever you're in strain or out of balance or you don't feel flow, just ask yourself what you're focusing on. What are you focusing on that's causing this? How are you out of balance? This is an out of balance condition. Every time we're feeling contracted, we're out of balance. So what am I holding on to that's not serving me? These are the most important questions you can ask yourself. That's number one. Number two, what focus is causing this? And focus pertaining to the self-view, the identity, and the worldview. What focus on myself and world is causing this? So when you're in a state of comparison, you're comparing yourself to your peer, and you look at yourself and you feel inferior, like, oh, I'm not good enough to do this because I don't have this, and I don't have that skill, and I don't have a good video making skill, or good entrepreneurial skills, or good social skills. You are measuring yourself up to someone who's found what's working for them. Not fair. You just haven't found out what's working for you yet, right? Everyone has their own unique path. The mind likes to think there is just one path, one system for everyone. No, there isn't. Don't let anyone sell you on that bullshit. Everyone has their own unique path. The sooner you come to realize that and own that, the quicker you'll be successful. What focus is causing this? Number three, what focus do I need? What worldview and self-view do I need in order to have what I want? If you've defined what you want and you're clear on that, I want to have this life of freedom, this mansion, this kind of lifestyle. Clarity is the most fundamental step. If you don't have clarity, you have nothing. So you need to be very, very clear and spend every single day getting a clear picture of what you want in your life. And once you have clarity, then you can ask these questions. What worldview do I need, and what self-view do I need in order to be living that? Who is it that lives that ideal life? I did this every single day for the past 5-6 years until I arrived at it, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a little bit of time. Rome wasn't built in a day. Good things may take some time. I always looked at what is it I want ultimately? Like what would make my life a continual celebration? It would make it feel freer. And it's not like, you'll know that you've got the right things when you feel those feelings of lightness, the feelings of power, the feelings of choosing, the feelings of love, abundance, not the feelings of comparison with your peers and the feelings of competition. those are more contractive feelings. So when you feel and think about your goals, what is the feeling that's underlying them? Is it lightness or heaviness? We want to choose the things that we want in our lives that give us that feeling of lightness and visualize them every day. And when you do, you can ask, what focus do I need? Who do I need to be? What identity do I need to embody in order to effortlessly achieve that? And the last thing I want you to do, I mentioned this before, please, for your sake, click here right now. Watch the law of assumption video that I made. It is going to clear up any detail that I've missed in this video, which particularly are the two enemies to reality creation, and teach you how to get the law of assumption and form a self-assumption, form that identity so you can effectively shape this mirror. So I will see you in this next video right now. Thanks.